Hello, today I'm in Creator Sim. I'm not making anyone based off of anyone, which is usually what I prefer to do, like Disney princesses or someone where it's quite easy. I just kind of decided to just make one, kind of a punkish looking sim. So most of the time, well actually I don't think I've ever asked you to comment what you think, but in this one I'm going to specifically ask, don't comment what you think, because Creator Sim is not a strong suit of mine. I know this. So if you think, wow, that does look shit, don't worry about it, because I already know. Don't worry about letting me know. But yeah, I mean, you can see what I'm doing. So there's only so much about Creator Sim you can really talk about. Yeah. So instead, I'm just going to talk about something that. So I was talking to my brother the other day, and you know when you can hear someone's telling you something and you think, this is bullshit, like none of this is true. And to be honest, I'm always quite sceptical of my brother anyway, because he is not very good at telling things like it actually was. I remember when he was like 18 and he had just started going out clubbing and stuff. And this is the worst fabrication I've ever heard in my life. One night he came home and he'd had a few to drink, and he was talking to my mum. Well, I say talking, frantically shouting. He came home and I could just hear him shout at mum saying, "Oh my God, mum, I've killed him." And my mum was like, "What?" And so the story he said was that he was in a club and this guy started a fight with him, so he fought back, and he thinks he killed the guy that he just had a fight with. Now, that's quite shocking. I don't know what part or what neighbourhood you may be from, but that's very shocking in from what I'm used to. So naturally my mum was like, what the fuck? Like, this is a big deal. But luckily my stepdad, he did actually know my brother quite well. So he was like, okay, let's all just calm down and talk us through exactly what happened. And as time went on and my brother was telling the story again, it changed slightly. So it went from, I think I've killed a man, to then it was, oh, I was in a club and this guy started a fight with me, so I punched him in the face. Then it evolved even more to then I wasn't actually in a club. I was walking down the street and this gang of men tried to rob me because they were asking for my phone. And then the story changed again. Basically it changed again and again and again until we found out that what really happened was my brother was walking down the street and one man asked him for the time. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. This is a genuine thing that happened. I don't know whether it was him being drunk. Maybe. I actually think my brother has some kind of undiagnosed condition, because he will make such a drama out of something that didn't even happen. So we all kind of know that if he tells us something, you have to ask him 5 times, what actually happened, and then eventually you'll get the truth. So I'm generally quite skeptical of everything he says, to be honest. So yeah, he was talking to me about a night out he'd been on recently, and he was saying that there was this woman at the bar who was flirting with him all night. And I mean, he's married, and he was like, obviously I wouldn't do anything, but it was nice to have so much attention. And by the end of the night she really was desperate. She kept asking where we was going, she wanted to come with. In the end I just had to sit down with her and say, look, I'm sure you're a lovely girl, but I am married and I'm not interested. And then his mate obviously heard the last bit of this conversation, and his friend piped up and went, what the fuck are you talking about? That never happened. Turns out what actually happened was my brother went to the bar, asked for a drink. The girl couldn't hear him because the music was loud and just said, "Can you speak up, mate?" And that was the entire conversation. So please help my sanity and tell me that you also know someone like this, because it's hard to keep up with. I'd like to think we all have someone, like, as I'm telling this story, hopefully anyone that is listening to this, automatically a name kind of comes into your brain and you're like, oh yeah, yeah, I know someone just like that. So he definitely gets his comeuppance though. For every bad thing he does, bad things do happen to him. I remember his birthday a couple of years ago. He phoned me on his birthday. He beat me to it. I was going to call him anyway. And I was like, oh, hello, happy birthday, you having a good day? And he just went, no, I'm in fucking A&E. And I was like, oh no, why are you? It's not a surprise to me, because he's always in A&E. So I was like, oh no, why are you in A&E? And he was like, fucking, my wife ran me over. And I said, well, are you okay? And he said, well, I'll live, but my arse is scratched to fuck, and I can tell you that much. So what happened was, on his birthday, he drives, he's a car fanatic, he's been driving as soon as he was 17, and his wife doesn't drive, and I think he's trying to teach her, but he is the worst person to teach anything, because he doesn't have any patience. I remember once he tried to teach me to drive. We got in the car, he looked at me and said, well, fucking drive then. And I was like, do I push something? I didn't even know how to start it. So he basically needed his car to be moved, and instead of just moving it himself, told his wife that she should move it. And she was like, oh, I really don't know about this, I don't feel very comfortable. And he was like, just do it, it'll be fine. So I think she was meant to press the brake, but instead she pressed the accelerator and then she had her foot on both. Then she took her foot off the brake, she was in reverse, and my brother was leaning in, touching the steering wheel because the window was open. So she drastically, at quite speed, reversed off of the driveway. He was still attached to the steering wheel, and she ended up dragging him across the road, like, by his arse. And she managed to, like, do an emergency brake, and he was like, fuck's sake, my fucking arse, it's gone, it's gone. This was a few years ago. He is now fine, but it's just like a little nugget into how, he does get his comeuppance. So when he is a prick, at least I know, he does sometimes get karma, and that did make me chuckle a lot. So yeah, anyway, we're at the end of the video now, so thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Bye-bye.